important things that we do as far as getting the word out, hopefully, and making sure people make informed decisions. We have Christina over there that is our secretary, our membership committee and communication. She does everything. So if you are interested in joining or have any questions about the different committees that we have, she's a great person to ask. Dana Warwick right here is the coordinating campaign chair for both the Marion Progressives as well as the Democratic Executive Committee. So basically the Marion Democrats. So we do a lot of overlap. She's one of those people that makes sure that somebody comes and knocks on your door or calls you and harasses you, so that you remember to vote. And again, I'm the president, and I really would like to thank everybody for being here, because a lot of people sleep through the primaries. And it's really easy to do in Marion County, because when's the last time we actually had a primary for this position? And now we actually have the opportunity to have 4 candidates to vote for. So this is very different from what we're used to. And I'm going to ask everybody to do your due diligence, ask the hard questions, do the research, and pick somebody that you believe is your fighter, that they're going to be your champion, because we're going to be sending them to battle against the most disgusting person in the world. The reality is that there's a chance that Randy Fine won't make it through his primary. It could happen, but it's a very slim chance. So we know that we're gonna be battling someone pretty often. And it's gonna be some pretty nasty things. And so what we're gonna have is that tonight and up until the primary, you pick your fighter and you do everything you can to support them, whether it's financially, door knocking for them, supporting them on social media. Pick more than one if you want. There's nothing wrong with that either. They don't have right to voting, so eventually at some point you have to make a decision. But get behind them, and then whoever wins the primary, get behind them too, because we need everybody in here working together. There are literally lives at stake. Our country has been a democracy for 250 years coming up. We may not make it to 251 if we do not take that power. The Constitution says we the people. It does not say we the wealthy. It does not say we the Epstein class. It does not say we the elected officials. We pick them and we send them to DC to do our bidding. They should not be picking who is their voter, and they should not be telling us what they're supposed to be doing. That is our job. And so I'm asking everybody to hold firm, keep calling them, keep standing on them and telling them how you want them to vote, whether it's Congress, state level, or our community right here. You know, we do get to vote for county commissioners and school board, and that's also incredibly important. It's every single step of the way. So tonight, ask the hard questions. These guys like it, I promise you. They're good at it. We've been putting them through the paces. And now I'm going to turn this over for just a moment here to Miss Francine Julius Edwards. She is in every single organization I ever had. She's going to tell you about some of the coming events, and we'll be able to tell you about more of them later.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Democrats.
Good evening.
Y'all, come on, try one more time. Good evening, Democrats. That's what I want to hear. I'm gonna start with the good news. The good news is we do have a chance to change this around. As you've been watching on TV and in the news, it would seem that we have no voice, but we do. We have a voice and we need to use it. Every time you go to a community event, you go to a Democrat event, you go to any type of event, bring friends with you. Let those friends know. Have those friends listen to any of these candidates, because we have to make sure that our voices are heard. Here municipally, the school board, county commissioner, as Jeannie was saying, but also state house. I am the District 8 for Representative Yvonne Hinson, District 21. And that serves mostly Gainesville, but it also takes care of West Ocala. I've been proudly the constituent services chair and her office manager for 6 years, for 3 times 2 is 6, right? After 5 o'clock, my brain turned off. So, we want to make sure that that seat stays Democrat, because it's so important to make sure that every constituent has some type of assistance. I am also, as she said, I have 18 million jobs. I'm also the second vice president and the political action / civic engagement chair. That's a mouthful. For NAACP Marion County. It will never be said that NAACP in Marion County doesn't do anything, because we have been on fire for years and we will continue to do so. That being said, we are now, our theme is the fierce urgency of now. We've developed a timeline of events that we want your participation in. It will be emailed to you. On June 13th, there will be a town hall in Chatmire. Who knows what's going on in Chatmire? Did you know that the railroad ties with the toxic creosote has been, some of those tires 5 miles, 12 feet high of those railroad ties have been soaking that awful toxic stuff into the ground and into the water, Rainbow Springs. They're having a town hall between 11 and 1 on June 13th to talk about how we're going to sue, or how we're going to make sure all of that is taken away. On June 14th, which is next Sunday, NAACP is having a general membership meeting. I want all candidates there. We need to make sure that all butts and seats, yes, it's gonna be out Mount Canaan Missionary Baptist Church, they don't mind me saying that. All butts and seats, because our featured speaker is Wesley Wilcox. Who knows who Wesley Wilcox is? Yes.
Oh, I was kidding. Yeah, so that is actually the supervisor of elections for Marion County. He is a very good man, in my opinion. That's my opinion. He is a Republican I will vote for. Just throwing that out there.
Mr. Wilcox had notified me in February that some of the polling places that we're used to have been changed. There are some churches that have stepped back away from having polling places because they're concerned about safety. So there are other polling places that have been that are being corrected to make sure that we have a place to vote. Also, I want to stress vote by mail. We have a vote by mail form on the desk. To remind you, please go on votemarion.gov to make sure that you renew your vote by mail. That way, as you know, you get your ballot in the mail in the comfort of your home. You make your notices, you vote for your candidates, and then we advise you to turn it in between August 8th and August 15th, which is early voting. Please put it into those boxes at the early voting places. Also, coming up on July 10th is Equal Ground. Equal Ground Fund is a legislative tracking organization that lets us know they're doing a post-legislative debrief. That's a funny word for saying after the craziness that has happened in Tallahassee with the session, but after the session, they didn't finish the budget. So then they had a special session to finish the budget. And then they had another special session that just ended on Tuesday that is supposed to take care of the property taxes. It's a nightmare, but it is explained on July 10th, which is a Friday night, from 6 to 8. The doors open at 5. And lastly, oh, I'm sorry. Next thing is June 20th. We are going to be part of the Juneteenth celebration at Mary Sue Rich. That is from 10 to 5. On July 31st, NAACP hosts a candidate forum. We are known for our candidate forums. We are known for our candidate forums. We are known for the heavy questions. I will never forget in 2016 when we first started putting it together, and I was making sure that we had the tough questions. A candidate came up to me. He was running for sheriff against Dennis and the sheriff that's there now. And he goes, you know what? I did not think that I would be given those hard questions, but you don't give softball questions, you make me think. That is the best compliment ever. Please come with your questions, as I'm hoping that you'll come with your questions tonight. And then August 8th, the branch is having an education day. That is going to be at Mary Sue Ridge. That is where we, all your children, your grandchildren, friends and family, please come, please help support our children. School board member meetings, city council meetings, and county commissioner meetings. We need to go to those meetings. We need to speak at those meetings, and we need to bring it back to our organization so that we can make sure that they're not doing something unlawful that we don't know about. If you have any questions regarding them, I'm going to make sure that that timeline, which is what I've created, gets to Jeannie and gets to Christine so that they can get that information out. Thank you for your time. Oh, and these pound cards will be on the table out in the front. Oh, I'm sorry. One more thing that I'm sad to say that I don't know if you heard, but Jerry Cummings, who was running for governor, it has been told that he has prostate cancer and he is going to have to step down. I was just getting ready to work on a fundraiser for him, and Marion knows, but we're wishing his family well, wishing him well in the recovery. Well, good recovery. Thanks.
All right, again, my name is Brooke. We have extra cards for you guys. So if you have a question, raise your hand. Somebody will bring you a card. If you think of something, write it down, and we'll come get it from you. Each candidate has 3 minutes to answer each question. So we have a lot to go through already. I'll go ahead and get started. We're going to start with Ron. Okay. The last candidate who came here received 28% of the vote. How are you planning to receive more?
I'll walk up here because I'm okay, I need my steps, you guys are the best, okay, anyway. But I'm not this short. My time don't start yet. I answered the question. We do what we have been doing this whole entire time, we have mobilized team. And continue to strengthen this organization campaign that we have. We have a great bunch of people on our squad. We have almost, I think that's what yesterday, we counted 53 total volunteers in this total big gerrymandered district that we was given, or blessed with, if people say. A lot of them here right where you elect. There's 5 of them sitting right here we elect because they, even before this was, we went out the door now. It's all about getting out to the people, letting them know that their voice has not been diminished. I know the last primary election for president, a lot of people were down because they see what he did in his first term. And they believe, how can it happen again? But we have to tell the people that we're here. We're still gonna stay in this fight. We're gonna continue to be in this fight. And don't give up hope, because the last thing that we have is hope. And if we give up hope, everything goes away. And so that's our goal, is to continue mobilizing, building our coalition, and going out there and letting people know that there's somebody out there that's standing for them and fighting for them, and we'll do the best for them. And come join our team if you guys want to see the progress that we have to know. Thank you. Okay, guess I'm not that short either. For me, it's same, like getting out, getting on the ground, mobilize, talking to people. That's the biggest thing. For me, I grew up at Citra, very rural community, connected here to Ocala. It's important that we get into the rural communities that are forgotten. You know, a lot of these communities have not seen a representative at all, much less anybody asking them questions. And that is the key for me, is to get into a lot of these communities that have been forgotten, that have not had their voices heard, and to talk, and to just find out what they need and bring them out of their shadows that they've been living in, because for too long, we've been underrepresented. A lot of us have gone into hiding. I say us as Democrats, we've gone into hiding. And we need to have representatives that are actually proud of the Democrats to show up, and that gets people out of their houses and start giving them open lights, and that's what my focus is on.
So for us, for Rockland, Congress campaign, the thing is that for us is we're gonna be people. And we're knocking on doors. We are going to make people get excited about these midterms. And I'm seeing that there's a lot of people fearful because what's going on out of DC, people are unsure. And so me as a candidate, I have to make sure to let you know that I'm gonna do the job with integrity. I'm gonna do the job to represent you. And yes, that was a special election. That was a different time. And looking at the previous data in 2022, when that was a regular election, that a lot of people didn't turn out. And so I empower, when I'm doing door knocking, when I'm talking to people, is go and tell your neighbor about this campaign, about what's going on, about the election. And then two is one thing that's near dear to my heart is getting young people excited. 18, the 21-year-old generation behind me, because I'm not doing this just to sit in a place and not pass something off to the next generation. And that's what we're seeing with this administration and with the person that's in the seat right now, is that they're not really making a way for our young people. So that is a generation that we got to get excited about elections, and then we can close that gap. And how we're going to do that is that get out there and talk to people. Get back to your old way of just shaking people's hand. And if you get the door slammed on you, that's fine too. But we'll be back, and that's the way that we're going to do it. Thank you.
To answer this question a slightly different way, I agree with everything that all three competitors have said. I'm very fortunate to be working and running in a campaign with such quality opposition, if you will. And we found out in a couple of our forums before that we generally agree on a lot of things, but I want to answer the question from the perspective of a political science background, which I've had at the university. The 28% number is indicative of where we've been as a Democratic Party for a long time now. And the way that we're going to change those numbers, sorry? So I think that the way that we're going to change those numbers, we have to start communicating the message today, where many of us are already doing. We have to start communicating the message as to what a violent person Randy Fine is right now. Because this is a 60% Republican overall district. We're not going to win. I have no qualms that the turnout is going to be good at the primary, because a lot of us are very upset about our representation. So I think what's really going to matter is that we have to start pointing that the four of us, whichever one of us you choose, is a voice of reason. And Randy Fine is number one. That's what we have to communicate, because we've got to get people to not just check PR on the ballot. We've got to make them realize that they're actually voting for this person named Randy Fine. And I think if we do that, I think we can make it. Yes. Thank you.
Okay, so we have two of the same topic. I'm gonna combine these two questions. It has to do with property tax. I think a lot of us thought that was going to leak, and then in the last couple of days, I think they actually passed it, so we'll be voting on this issue. Where do you guys stand on the property tax adjustment that is being pursued? And can the new governor overturn it? Do you know if the new governor can overturn the new property tax stuff? So I'm gonna pick it up because It's easier for everybody.
So I'm going to answer the second question first. The new governor, I don't believe will be able to overturn it because it's going to be on the ballot for the people to choose. For the next, so I think it's going to be up to us to decide if we want it or not. But I already think it's past that. We know Ron DeSantis is going to sign it before he leaves office. This is his last year. And we know he's going to sign it. So once he signs it into law, it's going to have to be on the ballot. That's what he's signing. He's signing for it to be on the ballot. I personally would love to save money. Who knows? But there's a lot of other things that we will be giving up. I'm a former law enforcement officer and EMS. That's what we're sacrificing to save you a couple of $1,000 a year. I'm just letting y'all know, you guys, we're already struggling with ambulance response times. And we're already struggling in some cities with the response times of law enforcement and schooling. We already pay our teachers one of the worst in the country. We already have the worst education about, we're number 40 in the whole country. We're gonna make that even worse, just to save money. So I'm okay with paying my $1,900 to $2,500 a month. That breaks up into monthly increments that we don't even really see anyway, because we pay it in our mortgage, right? And our taxes. It's worth it. You guys, if it was me, I will vote this down, because we're going to hurt way worse than we is. And something else is gonna have to change. We get rid of property taxes, sales taxes is gonna go up, or it's gonna come, or we're gonna get state taxes back. Something is gonna happen. If you guys we're not going to push it away and say we're saving money. We're not. We're just pushing it on to the next thing. So I don't agree with it. I think it should stay like it is. But we do need to work on lowering the taxes, giving some kind of incentives to homeowners that have been having their homes for 50+ years and stuff like that. So that's my answer to that.
Yeah, I would not like to pay property tax. I don't think any of us in this room would agree with that. For me, I look at this and I'll go back, and the governor, yes, we're voting on this. I think that's the biggest thing we need to do is educate what's on this ballot. What is the question that is being asked? And I think of it this way of, if this state is pushing towards ending property tax and taking away money from our local municipalities, that is where electing the proper representative is even more key. Because right now we have infrastructure all around us that's crumbling. Infrastructure that won't be able to be repaired by XYZ city or county. And that is what we're not thinking about. You know, I think of at Daytona Beach, we have an area that consistently floods. Or in Palm Coast that is running out of water. And I was reached out to Randy Fine asking for help to help with their water plant to upgrade it, make it current. He got denied, or they got denied. He pushed it back and said, you need to pay for this. What happens? They end up taking a loan. This is happening across our district. And now what happens when we cut property taxes and cut in income to a local municipality? There's not going to be money to improve these things. And that's where it's key to having a representative that is actually seeing what these impacts are and then can fight for the federal funding just in case this all passes. But the key is we have to start educating people what's on the ballot and what this question is. It's going to be this shiny object, no property taxes. But let's be real what those impacts are, not just with local services, but also for those that maybe own a second home. That's not homesteaded. That they're renting out, maybe a family that's in need. Now their rent is going to go up
behind why they're doing it. And so, and they're dangling out there to say, okay, we need in property taxes. But in a couple of years later, we be the ones that have to pick it up. And as your next representative, my job is to represent the people of Florida 6th District that you won't have to pick up that burden. And I will work tirelessly with these county commissioners to make sure that doesn't happen, where schools are getting what they need, why roads are getting paved and resurfaced. And so we won't have to pick that up. And so that's how I will handle that. And I hope that whoever the next governor, that, and I know that they will stand behind the working class people of the state of Florida.
So, first of all, I'll answer the question by saying I'm steadfastly against getting rid of the real estate property tax. Secondly, just to make an observation, this is a state issue, not a
That's
federal
what I
issue.
was going to say.
And we're running for a federal office here, but that's okay. It doesn't mean we can't talk about it. Doesn't mean we can't answer the question, but it's not really material to what we're trying to achieve. My ultimate problem with this is that it's a zero-sum game. Like, I was at St. John's Chamber of Commerce presenting earlier this week, and one of the topics of conversation was about this elimination of the property tax. And everybody's sitting around, these are business people who are mostly, by the way, Republicans, right? And they're looking at each other like, how are we gonna fund the government? Like 78% of their tax base is coming from property tax. So where's that money gonna go to? Well, they're gonna get some grants from the state. Well, what is the state gonna do? Print their own currency? I mean, this just doesn't make any sense. We have to start as a government, as a society, focusing on things that make sense. And then to a point that Ronnie made earlier, whatever is going to replace the property tax is going to be more regressive, not progressive. So if you have more income, sales taxes or other taxes on cars or boats or whatever, that's going to hit the working class people harder than the percentage that they're paying in property taxes. So I think it's a bad idea in like 5 different ways. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, so the next question, will you commit to reversing the destruction of the Department of Education?
Yes. But it's more than that. I mean, you know, there's going to be a lot of work to be done in Congress to clean up all the things that have happened over the last couple of years. The Department of Justice is a joke. The assistant or the acting attorney general going through confirmation hearings is a joke. Pulte is a joke. The whole thing is just one thing after another. And you know what gives me encouragement is like when you see, you know, some of the better representatives like J.B. Raskin, you see people talking about this, Sheldon Whitehouse. They're all talking about, we're making notes, we're keeping track of what's happening. Because there's a lot of things that are going to have to be unwound when this is over. But the answer is absolutely no. Thank you.
Yes, and that's a triple yes. Is because, you know, the generation behind us, they need a fighting chance. And what they did with this Department of Education, that they just got in there and really put somebody in there that's not qualified to be the Secretary of Department of Education. And so, but we're gonna have to look at that. You know, we have a lot of college students that leave colleges and have all this student loan debt. And we need somebody to really get up in there and think about the kids coming up and think about college graduates. Because the Department of Education is a very important branch of the federal government. And we have a lot of people rely on the Department of Education. And so, but this administration has really, really gutted a lot of our departments up there. And like Steve was saying, it's going to take a lot to get things back on track. But it's not going to be in the next 2 years. We got to get the president out of there that's in there now and have somebody in there that is going to work with Congress and allow Congress to do what Congress do. And so, but the Department of Education, yes, it needs to be just revamped. And really that is a priority because our children are relying on that.
Yes, like, we need to support our Department of Education, we need to rebuild it, and we need to actually change our priorities just overall in government. The fact that we're not prioritizing education is a problem. We're sending billions, trillions of dollars overseas, but yet we cannot afford our own education system or support our own education system here at home. And that has to stop. We cannot have the lowest literacy rates in the world. We cannot have children that are failing third grade. That's a problem that we're seeing, and that's because we're not having the priorities and focus on funding actual proper education. We want to push it all the way to the states and allow for now state money to not go towards public education and to go towards a private education system. No, like, we have to bring that back in, and we have to change what our priorities are as a country. And that starts with our education system to make sure we're actually supporting it.
Absolutely, just like all my fellows here, I agree, we do need to not only bring it back, but strengthen it. A lot of people do not understand that the federal Department of Education does more than just govern. They protect children like lions who have IEPs and 504 plans to make sure that these states are taking care of these disabled children the way they're supposed to be taken care of. And ever since they already diminished the Department of Education and my children's school alone, they started to diminish some of the programs that my children are entitled to under these plans. So we don't only need to bring it back, we need to strengthen it. But we also need to make sure that we should federalize and make sure that all states are on some kind of equal path. Like Florida should not be able to tell what kind of books our children should be able to read or not, or demise our history and twist it to say something really didn't happen the way we knew it really happened, right? Those are things that the federal government can do and prioritize to make sure that one state is saying that Rosa didn't move to the back of the bus because she wanted to go there, or the other one saying that she was forced in the back. Well, you got two different children, you got children learning two different things in two different states. And that should not be like that. We should be able to travel to the United States and learn the same thing that's truthful. Because history don't change. And no matter how much they try to change history, they can't. So we also need to make the Department of Education force things like universal education. Those are things that we can do on a federal level. I believe education should be free in this country. There's other countries that we fund that have free education, and we still sending them billions of dollars when we are 40th in the world. So those are things that we have to do and take care of and make sure that we get a person who is the CEO of a wrestling corporation out of our education corporation. Thank you.
To tell a white joke, the Trump administration said we need to make school cheaper. And they said the way that they were going to do that is by introducing loan limits. So they, closing the door for kids to go to school. Staying on that topic, what are you going to do to reach out to younger Democrats who are being impacted by these systematic changes, getting them activated and involved in the party? And I'm going to start here.
That is, thank you for the question. Whoever asked that question is that I'm really passionate about our young people. I'm really passionate about getting them engaged in the process. And really, I live by the model, if they can see it, they can be it. And so tomorrow I got a young person helping on my campaign. I had a young person ask, she was probably about 11 years old, what can I do in your campaign? I said, you can call people and give them that opportunity, because we got to welcome them. We have to welcome them. We have to get them involved. I got two boys and they don't ask me stuff, but I tell them. And I know they're paying attention. And that's a generation that they're looking, but they're not like my generation. We ask a lot of questions, but they know what's going on. And so, and then two is show them the truth and tell them the truth. Because that's the difference from my generation. We had truth, and now there's so much out there that our younger generations don't know what is true, what is false. And so, and bring them to stuff like this. They have to come and show them the process, because it breaks my heart. It really breaks my heart to see all of this and don't see younger people here to pick up the mantles. Because that's where it dies with our generation and the generation that paved the way for me to stand up here and run for Congress. So that is very passionate for me, is getting the young people involved, and I will do everything possible. And then when I get to Congress, one thing that I will do, I will start something to teach them about this process and really go back and not just be a taker and just want your vote and not go back and pour back into the community. And that's the way that I will get back to the community, getting the young people involved, because someone did it for me. Thank you.
Before I answer the question, I just wanted to make a comment. This is glorious. I noticed this the last time that we had a forum. We generally agree about 85% of the time, and yet, in addition to agreeing, you're going to hear different perspectives and different reasoning as to why that might be the right answer to a question, right? And I think you don't get this in politics a lot, and I feel very gratified that we're out here and that we're kind of like all headed in the same direction and presenting ourselves as best we can along the way. If Dan Bilzerian does move forward with running against Randy Fine, on the other side of this race, on the Republican side, you're going to see a race to the bottom. It's going to be the ugliest race, and the nation's not ready for it yet. Once the word gets out that Dan Bilzerian is going to spend $30 million trying to defeat Randy Fine in a district where Dan Bilzerian is not going to be particularly popular, it's going to be really a lot of animosity. And I think what you're going to see from our side is a lot of respect for one another. And I think that's important. I really do. What was the question again?
Youth, how do you get youth involved?
And getting youth involved. So I'm doing something right now called Walk for Change. And I was in Elton and Palatka today. And I'm over the course between a couple of weeks ago when I started and through the primary, I'm going to get to every city in the district that has a population of 1,500 or higher. And so I go into town, I park near the courthouse where I buy free parking. I put a blue backpack over my shoulder with a water bottle and a bunch of flyers. And I walk around downtown. I go into businesses and I talk to them about what they would like to see better or different from the federal government. And I've noticed a distinct difference between the younger voters and the older voters. The younger voters, number one, they're shocked that the incumbent can live 82 miles outside of the district. It's unfathomable. They look at me like, what do you mean? Like, is that legal? I said, well, apparently, yes, it is. The other thing is the price of gas. It is so real and tangible when you're having to pay for gas to fill up your tank. When you're having to see all of the prices go up because the price of diesel and gas is going up and it's creating inflationary pressure. So I think that the biggest thing is the messaging that we use has to be messaging that appeals to younger voters. Thank you.
First we have to meet everyone where they're at, whether they're young, older, whatever it may be. We need to meet them where they're at and where they're taking in their information. A lot of younger people are on the phones. We look at that maybe sometimes as a bad thing, but it's not. They're seeing things that most of us don't see on a regular news channel. They're well informed. And we have to treat them that way. That's the biggest thing right now. We look at somebody and we're saying, oh, you're on the phone, you're whatever, and you're not paying attention to what's going on. The fact is they are. The fact is that there's not representatives that are speaking to them and speaking about the things that they care about and standing firm of things. And that is how we're going to bring younger voters in. It's actually not spewing BS. not spewing lies, but actually talking about things that we're seeing with our own eyes sometimes. And the fact that we wanna say something is not, it actually is. That turns younger voters away more than anything. And that's one thing we have to stop. We have to meet people where they are at. You know, earlier today at the Pride March here in Ocala, I was overjoyed to see where I grew up in Ocala, that there's kids out there celebrating Pride. Not scared to be outside downtown in City Hall. For the youth here in Ocala to be doing that, that is huge. And we should recognize that. And also, like, that's where we're going to meet them, is also listening. They have a lot of great ideas. They have a lot of problems that they're dealing with that we can't even begin to understand. If we're not there to listen and provide that voice, they're not going to support us. They're going to stay home. And that's what we have to change. Oh, sorry. For me, I worked with the youth my entire life, basically. That's all I've been since I was young. Those volunteers that I told you guys about earlier, the majority of them are less than 40 years old. There's 5 of them right here now. And the way we attract them is just letting them do what excites them. Don't push them to do something that may be exciting to you. Some of them don't like watching the news. Make it fun for them and say, okay, don't go watch the news, go see what's on TikTok. Or let's not just go knock on doors, let's have a fun game. We have a thing in my campaign where we go out and have fun at least one time a month. We do something really fun and let them choose. Eric said it, meet them where they at. Don't force them to do what they want to do. I was a youth football coach. I got a lot of young people involved in the local football in Mount Dora. And my son is also involved in that. And give them something exciting to do. They don't care about, they truly, really don't care about what's really happening in Washington. They really want to do what's right for their country as long as it's right and fun. And we teach them that this is why we're doing it. And it will open your eyes to what they really, truly believe in. We have marched with the youth right now, what's happening with the ICE agents. A lot of them are not, they're not stupid. They see what's happening. Right there in Port Orange, we marched with a group of youth who from 6th grade to 8th grade walked out of their school in solidarity because they were missing friends from school that were picked up by ICE. And so what I always say is when you see the youth getting angry, we need to be just as angry and have their back. So that's how we get them attracted to us. Do something that they love and that is fun, and that will make them boring. Thank you.
Staying in the same vein, are any of you going to the Pride Parade in Marion County? And if not, are you going to any other district, any Pride event in any other district? And we'll start there.
Yes, I did go to the Pride March today. I know there's a couple of other events that I am looking at getting into. But now Pride is coming up. There's also the state LGBTQ caucus meeting in July that I'm looking to go to. So there's definitely a lot of events to get into to celebrate Pride and to amplify why we're doing that as well. Absolutely. Yeah, me and my wife and my household are very active in the LGBTQ plus community. We try to go in as much of events as we can. We have a big squad, but
did you go yesterday or today?
I did not go to the march today. We went to a LGBTQ conference that's coming up. We went to the one in Volusia County. We went to the one in Orlando. There's so much that we can do. There's also one that we coming up that Eric just said in Liddell. We will be there.
It's so much that's going on. I also went to the Lady Lake City Council Commission and spoke up for that community where they tried to not issue a proclamation because two of the members on the board believed that the community is disgusting. That was their words. And I went there in solidarity and stood up and spoke it up, and eventually the mayor agreed and gave them their proclamation that they so rightfully deserve, because they have as much voice and passion as all of us in this room, no matter if you believe in them or not. They are people, they are human beings, and they deserve just as much respect as we do in their community. So yes, thank you.
That's the question. No, I didn't go to the private festival today in Marion County, but I will be attending any other festival that's coming up. Went to the one that was in Mount Dora in Lake County about a month ago. And so we will be celebrating Pride Month this month with the community. So thank you.
Was not able to attend the Pride March today, and I am going to attend the Pride March in Vanilla as well.
So I'm gonna try to stay in the same vein of talking about marginalized communities, right? This raises male dominated. Can you guys share your thoughts on how we can get more women involved in politics and running for office?
Oh, sorry. I say don't be a douche. I'm married. Me and my wife been together since we were in junior high school, and I'll let you guys know my campaign would not be nothing without her. So although you see me being the face of this campaign, I couldn't do it without my wife, and I have many other females that's running on my team that I can tell you they do a marvelous job. And we try to put them out there as much as possible. But I'm just the face of this operation. I can tell you that on my right, there's my Tatiana back there recording. I have my sisters. I have other volunteers out here that they are really truly the brains and boots on the ground. So we have to get them more involved by letting them, same way we do to you, letting them do what they do. I was raised by a strong Black woman, and I'm perfectly made, I believe. And so we just need to let them shine and stop saying that men dominates this world, because women brought us into this world. They can take us out. That's what so, that's the truth.
Likewise, I have a great partner, Jesse, right here, that supports everything I do. Crazy ideas, from hiking a trail for 6 months to running for Congress. She's right there to support me, and that's what's huge is, you know, it's my job right now to act as a voice for those that can and that don't have a voice or ability to speak up. You know, my team behind me, all women, you know, and that's not by accident at all. You know, I need a different perspective in life. And I think all of us can use a different perspective in life. And the problem is, us guys get in our heads sometimes, and we just think we have all the answers and just do everything right, not anything wrong. And we know that's not the truth. And we need people to keep us in place, and that's where, you know, having strong women beside you to help go through this is key. But also help paving pathways and removing barriers, so that way we can bring in women to the fold and start getting them into positions of power. That is where we're going to really start excelling.
For me, I'm the baby of 8, and I have 5 sisters. My mom was a single mom, and so I would not be standing here today without her modeling what a strong woman can do and keep the family together. Then I have models, I have role models. My five sisters all really modeled it to me of how to treat women and respect them. And then two is that me running a nonprofit, my whole leadership team are women. And we didn't make it that way, it just happened that way. But they stepped up and became leaders in my nonprofit. And I do encourage more women to run for office. I would love to see a woman president. I would love to see that. And I hope I see that in my lifetime on this earth, that we have a woman president, because it's time. It's time. Women are more than just, women can be anything that they want to be, but sometimes we have some men that feel like they don't want to take orders from a woman, but you take orders from your mom. So where did that make sense? And so, but by us talking about it, I'm glad somebody asked the question and we having dialogue about it. And then two is once I get into this office, is go out there and, like I said, with the youth, is empower them. And go back there and go back to the community and see and work with women so they can be able to run for office and be able to be elected. But I am happy to see a lot of women that's running for office all across this state. Angie Nixon. I am happy to see Kenter down to CD7. So we do have a lot of women stepping up, and that's good. And I hope more women behind them keep going, because it's time. It's time. Thank you.
We had a woman in this space, and she was a very talented person, Jennifer Jenkins, who's now running District 8. So it's not like it's not something that could or didn't already happen. There's a lot of good female role models in politics today that maybe weren't there 30 or 40 years ago. You've got Elizabeth Warren, you had Nancy Pelosi. There's been a lot of good role models. I'd like to put it a slightly different way and say that one of the biggest problems that we have with women in leadership positions is that they're still not getting paid when men get paid for the same amount of work. The Equal Rights Amendment has now been ratified by enough states for it to become an amendment to the Constitution, except, and this is something that one of us could potentially vote on in the next couple of years if we're elected, and that is the Congress needs to extend the amount of time that was allowed for the ratification to take place. So once upon a time, it was supposed to take place within like a 20-year period. They extended it by another 10 years. There's still not enough states yet. There are enough states in. And so it would simply be a bill that would say if the period of time for ratification of the Equal Rights Amendment is extended for a 40-year period, and there would be enough states and it would be law. And I think that it's just absolutely reprehensible that in this day and age, women are still getting like 82 cents on the dollar to do the same job that men do. And I think we need to fix that.
Okay, so this is going to be a two-parter. The first is a simple yes or no. Should data centers be in Florida? And the second, I'm going to add to your question, what is your plan to deal with data centers in general once you, if you are in office?
No. Data centers presents a pretty interesting conundrum because mostly what's driving this are things like AI and cryptocurrency, which are not regulated and should be regulated. And so we're actually harming the environment, using up our scarce water resources, using up energy at a time when we should be moving away from greenhouse gases and into alternative forms of energy. So there's literally nothing good about data centers. They employ low-wage individuals usually. They wreck the environment in the areas around them. And they're doing things that we should actually take a step back and figure out why. Like I'm not against AI, but just unfettered AI that can just do whatever it wants with no control, that's ridiculous. And I am against cryptocurrency, so that's a whole different subject, but the bottom line is, yes, we should do everything we can to regulate and slow the growth of things.
Great question, whoever, asked that question. That I feel that, we shouldn't have data centers. And then two is I really want to, I know that the state of Florida just passed some legislation about data centers and put some guardrails in place for if a community wants to, if a county wants to have a data center that is going to protect the water and this, that, and third. But I want to make sure as the next congressman that we hold the state feet to the fire and make sure that they just didn't put something on paper. Because the thing is that one thing about the data center is what they're using it. They're saying this is for national security. That's the way that they're using it to get these data centers in these counties. But the thing is too, is that we need right now, we need to be at the Board of County Commission office and making sure that they are not really backdooring it and putting one out in, Alakawaha, because that's where there, massive land out there. And so, but as your next congressman, I will make sure that if that's not what you all want, I will fight hard to make sure that it doesn't happen from the federal level. And really, too, is work with some congressmen and women up there that are really, because people are pushing some legislation up there, but it has been stalled because we don't have the House and we don't have to get a chance to get this stuff to debate on it, and it's been stalled. And so by one of us winning, then we'd be able to take back the House, and then hopefully we get the Senate, and then we can work together there to make sure that it's not just people putting data centers up and not really protecting the environment, protecting water, and protecting youth, because those data centers are very, very dangerous. People with asthma have so many problems because of data centers, but because that calls it national security, and they want to protect national security, that's how they're getting around it. So, but let's get down to the Board of County Commission. That's what we can do now, and really make sure that they're not trying to sneak something in, because we've seen it in a whole nother county, but people stood up and made that Board of County Commission to put a moratorium in place to stall this, and that's what we have to do now. But as your next congressman, I will fight hard to make sure that CD6 don't have a data center.
So the first thing I would do when elected is one, sign on to the moratorium about stopping data centers for a year that Bernie Sanders and AOC put in place. We need to understand different things. For one, right now, we're already facing this. So in Palm Coast, data centers are already being built in the middle of a subdivision. There's a small data, supposed to be undersea cable. The problem is what they proposed to the city that got approved, they're now expanding it. That's the problems that we're seeing right now. Palaca potentially has a data center coming, a hyperscale data center, huge, 1,400 acres could be developed. These are things that we're seeing right now. There's rumors here in Marion County of potential land that was just bought for a data center. Unfortunately, our federal government, we work backwards in a lot of different ways. So things that, we want states to rule on, federal government is kind of taking control and is allowing data and AI to do whatever they want right now. We look at county commissions right now that are just passing things. What's happening in Putnam County, they're doing it by piecemeal. And when somebody's not paying attention, things are being put into place underneath all of our eyes. And then now 1,400 acres of farmland is going to be sold potentially for a data center that community is not going to be able to fight against. And we have to get active in our county commissions, and that's the thing we have to do now. And we have to be very, very vocal. But the thing is, they are very, very sneaky.
Yes.
So like in Putnam County, and this is very active, it's going on right now. They just approved wastewater treatment. This whole grand idea of improving wastewater. It's for East Palaca that doesn't have a population that's not being developed. it's for data centers right next to electricity enhancements and improvements that's going on for Florida Power and Light. Like, we know what's happening right now. So that's the things, we have to make sure we're aware, we need to regulate this for sure. But we need to study this and study the impacts and have ways that it's not impacting our natural environment, especially here in Florida, where our water is already scarce. Electricity is already running out as well. One, because of development has already taken it over. So we add on now data centers that provide no jobs and tax income, no basis for anything for our communities. That's not a good deal for us.
I also believe it's not a good thing for the entire country until we regulate it. But I'm gonna be really honest with you guys, that your vote is gonna determine what we want in our local communities. That's why voting is very important. I just did a video on these data centers not too long ago, and they already explained to you guys what the data centers and everything are. But we have a data center in Georgia who has been reporting these brown waters that they can't drink, they can't bathe, they can't eat neither of these things. They can't bathe in months because of these murky, toxic waters. And why would we want that down here in Florida? It's because what the governor is doing, he's trying to get away the power from the local government and give it to them. And so the local government is losing their voices. That's why this election matters, not only federal wise, because I want to kick out Randy Hunt as much as everybody here do, but we also need a governor to understand that our community is struggling. And these data centers are going to just make it worse. They're building one, like he said, and Volusia, they're already thinking about building one in Volusia County. Down in Polk County, they already have one being approved. It's going everywhere. And even though these local communities are voicing their concerns, the state government is overriding them. And this is what's happening. We need to get out and hold these people accountable because it's bad. People who have, like he said, asthma, you can't bathe, you're drinking water. We are already crumbling as it is. Our aquifers are on so much pressure that we're seeing now in my house in Wake County, we're seeing it, that the water is fucking air. And a lot of us is seeing it right now. And there's things collapsing just by normal, regular rainwater. Imagine when those data centers come and eat up the rest of the water that we use to cook and clean and do all these things. And we just need to not just sit down and just be quiet about it, be active about it. And the way we can hold our officials accountable, because I can promise you that even though we in a federal level, we can get there, we can fight, but with this corrupt administration and this corrupt Supreme Court, they're going to say that it's states' rights. And that's why it's up to you and us that live in the state to elect the people on a state and local level to get it right. But we can fight, we're going to fight, and we're going to continue to fight for you.
Okay, so we'll start here. And staying in that area, do each of you, can you explain the process for filing a bill and what support or approvals that you may need to get it, to the floor to vote?
So it's a little different at the federal level because it's that once you become elected, you have a team of people, you have to build a team. And so I can come up with an idea and there are attorneys down there that really draft up all this, that do the research, draft this legislation and stuff like that. And then too is that we have to really work with the leadership and whoever's, if it's hopefully that we take back the House and we have a Democratic, a majority where we have a leader, whoever becomes the Speaker of the House, is that you have to really work with the leadership to say, hey, look, I have this good piece of legislation. I really want to get it on the floor. And you got to have someone on the other side to debate it with you on the floor. And then they're going to put a bunch of amendments in there. And then if it's really something that, both parties feel that that is something that we can get past, then they'll put it to the whole majority. But there's a process. And I'm gonna be honest with you, as a freshman congressman, is that, there is a hierarchy there. There's a hierarchy there, and I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that I'm gonna get up there, we're gonna change the world because there's a hierarchy. But the thing is this, that is working together with people that's already there and see what legislation that they already have and see what I can do to help get it across the finish line. And then two is working and hearing from you and going to a Maxwell Frost, say, hey, look, people in CD6, because he's been there for a while. Hey, Maxwell Frost, my people in CD6 really want this to happen. Who do I need to talk to? How do I need to do it? Who is a Republican that I may need to sway to get this thing done? And that's what it's about. And that's the process. I could talk to you about on the state level too, if you want to, but I'm not gonna do that. But that's what it's about. So thank you.
That's a really good question, and whoever asked the question. No, it's making me go back to the science courses that I took decades ago. So to get a bill through Congress, you have to get a co-sponsor from the opposite party. You have to get the bill through committee. And the hardest part about that, and the reason that you need to elect one of us this fall, is that if we are in the majority in the House of Representatives, then every single committee will have one more Democratic member than Republican member. Yeah. And it only has to get a majority vote in the committee to then go to the floor. Yeah. So it's a very, it's not that hard when you describe it the way I just did, but the process of getting it done when the Republicans are control of the House of Representatives is well nigh impossible. You have to have all of the Democrats and you have to have at least one of the Republicans who turns away from their, their own party and decides they're going to vote for your bill to get to the floor. And in addition to that, you've got the SAVE Act. If you read Randy Fine's material, all he says is, I'm not voting on anything until we get the SAVE Act. And the SAVE Act is like one of those bills that's like, it's like very Orwellian. It's not, it's to save nothing. The SAVE Act is for voter intimidation. It's to make it harder to vote by mail, to make it harder to vote for people who don't have who's got their birth certificate? All of you, a lot of married women don't have their own, they've taken on a different last name. Well, who's got proof of that? Do you have a passport? Is it current? This stuff is crazy. So there's a process by which you can go do it. But that process is made particularly difficult when you're not in the majority party. And then once you get to the floor, you still got to get, enough votes to get it through. And then you got to get to the Senate and on and on and on. So it's a complicated process. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Handle the process piece. A couple of highlights that I would like to say is one, committees. So, committees are very important. One, for any of us running for this and choosing what committees we're going to be a part of. Is that agriculture? Is that transportation? And there is a hierarchy. It is freshman congressman versus someone that's been there. And you get a lot of weight after you get some time in place. But the other key to this is building coalitions, talking to people, building those relationships across the other side of the aisle, because yes, we will need to work together to get things passed. And I think that's where we're at totally as a country right now. We're starting to understand how much we're divided, but at the same time, we need the same things. And the more we start talking and conversing about those things, the better this will be, and then we can start getting legislation passed. But it's also key to have legislation that impacts us. Look at what Randy Fine has been putting forth. None of it, not a single piece of legislation that he has introduced this year while he's been in office impacts us at District 6. Not any of it, not in a positive way. That's what we have to start looking at from our representatives of getting legislation passed. Is also getting legislation in there that actually impacts the communities that we're elected to serve. And it's building those coalitions, it's working through the committees, it's building relationships to make sure we're getting things through. That's the key.
I think they all hit on it. I mean, growing up, I saw schoolhouse. They told me how to get a bill through at 5 years old. But growing up, it's stop it, Steve. It's exactly what they all said. It's going to be a little tough, a new congressman. But I'm going to take a little different approach to that. And I'm going to try to work with the other side while you bring the bill forward. Because that's what's missing. We are so divided in Congress right now. And that goes for both parties. That we are so divided and worried about money into politics. That's something that the state needs to get out. So my thing is working with the other side because we have no choice. I hope that we do take back the House and the Senate of Congress because it does make things a little easier because we always will have those committees where we know if we want something done, it will happen. But that doesn't mean we should turn our back away from the other side and saying, because even though they are the other side, some of them have good ideas. We just need to tweak it a little bit. It's because remember, we're not going to be a representative to just Democrats. We're a representative to all here. And we have to take Congress back from being left and right and meet somewhere in the middle. My plan is one of the things I want to do is actually go into Congress and you see how Democrats on the left or Republicans on the right, you need to mix them people up. Because if I sit next to a Republican most of the time, I got to learn the way he thinks or she thinks, you know? And that's what's happening. We're so divided. But the way we get a bill through is exactly how they just explained here is through those committees. We get them through the committees, we get another support on the other side, and we get it through. And we've been seeing that the other side has been breaking because they understand that they're not that popular right now, especially the person that we're running against and this president that we have us currently sitting in office. So that's how we attack getting bipartisan bills.
So we'll start with Eric. For all the candidates, what committee assignments will you seek?
I'll take my committee.
You know, thinking of our communities here and what our district really requires. We have a very vast district and a lot of different issues across. So one is agriculture. You know, when we think of ag, if you look at the northern part of our district, it's mainly farming communities. We have the potato capital of the world in Hastings. You know, and these guys are facing major issues right now. And we need somebody that's going to start representing those needs. I look at transportation and infrastructure. Some of the major issues we have in our communities right now, our roads are being just sometimes washed away, like we saw in Mount Dora recently, but also just crumbling over the weight of this overdevelopment that we're seeing. And we need to start fighting for different things that we're seeing. But I think the other piece or the other main committee is also reconciliation and budgeting. You know, we talk about money. We're not going to change money in our politics until we get actually directly involved in that, what that looks like, and actually getting funding allocated properly. So that's where my choices would be.
So this is my wish list, but we're going to be moving into Congress, so it probably won't happen right away. But one of the first ones is transportation. Florida's growing. I was born and raised in New York City where we don't have to drive everywhere. You can take a bus, but the buses here stop at 9 o'clock at night and they'll run until 7 o'clock in the morning. And we're growing at a rapid rate of thousands and thousands of people per year. I don't know about you guys, but I don't like driving from my little old Mount Dora to Orlando. It's taking me an hour now. So that's one of the biggest things is transportation for me because it's a lot of people here just want to get to where we want to get, and it actually goes into the environment because we can stop these gases and everything by just pushing out more transportation. And my next one is Homeland Security. I have a background in law enforcement, and I want to prosecute every single one of these ICE agents that went into these territories. Committed these terrorist acts by pulling people out of their homes, their schools, and terrorizing our community. And I wish, I also want to be on a committee that we can impeach this president. Those are my 3 wish lists. And then we can start talking about things like, you know, the budgeting and stuff like that. But, you know, it's going to be hard to get on committees like budgeting and everything because we're going to be brand new freshmen. But those are my 3 wish lists, and I hope that it can happen.
Thank you for the question. I was just thinking that based on my experiences that I know the 2 committees that I would probably be on would be the Veterans Affairs Committee, because me being a vet and being prior to the Marine Corps, and then 2 is what I do on my day job. I work in substance use and mental health, and so that would be a committee that I'll probably be on. And then 2 is anything that deals with our seniors, our elders affairs, and stuff like that. Being on that committee where that probably be a committee that I like to be on. And then another thing too is because we work with homelessness and work with unhoused population too, is be on a committee that can regulate HUD and make sure that money is getting out to the communities and that it's not being stopped because they don't want certain languages up in the grants that's coming out that's stopping these hardworking nonprofits that are doing a great work in these communities that are backbone of helping the underserved and the people that struggle with mental health and substance use. And they work with all populations, seniors, veterans. And so those are the 3 committees that most likely I'll be on based on my experience and the work that I do now.
So since we didn't do an introduction today, for those of you who don't know a little bit about my background, I'm a brewer by trade. So I have 2 full-time jobs. I run a brewery and I run for Congress. And running for Congress turns out to be a much more time-consuming effort than running a brewery was. But with that background, I think my first choice would be to be on the brewing committee. Is it a brewing committee? I didn't think so. I kind of think that's out. But it is ironic how often so many of us here agree. The first committee that comes to mind is the transportation committee. And there's a lot of reasons for it. There's a lot of opportunity for what we can do with transportation in Florida and around the country. And just a quick little story. For those of you who don't remember, when Rick Scott was governor of this state, he turned down federal money for high-speed rail. And what did he do? Like literally, I think it was 40 days after he got out of office, he invested in Brightline. Now that's like so immoral, it's unbelievable. He turned down the federal money because he saw an opportunity to make money on it personally. So yes, I would say that, and the other thing I'd like to say is I would try to be a little bit advantageous in that there's going to be a lot of change in Congress this year. There's going to be, like, the Republicans think that they redistricted to get 24 out of Florida, they're going to get 18. They're going backwards, I can promise you that. Hopefully this will be one of the districts that flips. But the fact of the matter is that with all of that change, I would like to go in and talk to people who I've learned to respect from when I see them in MSN and, you know, all this other stuff. And I'd like to ask them, like, where could I make the greatest contribution? Where are things going to happen right now? Pete Buttigieg did not go to Joe Biden and say, I want to be the Secretary of Transportation until Joe Biden said, I'm going to pass a massive transportation bill. And so then he ended up being in a really great place, right? So I think a lot of it has to be, there are things that I would like to do, but I'd also like to do where I can do the most help. Thank you.
I'm going to combine questions a little bit. So, talking about crime, the crime that's happening at the federal level, white collar crime. How do you guys want to go about dealing with that? Start off.
I don't know, this is gonna be one of the questions I want to go and say, talk a lot, because I was just prosecuting every single one of them. I mean, that's what's happening. Same thing with these people, people in Epstein County. Every single one of them who are in these Epstein County, go and prosecute. And that's the way we deal with this white collar crime, is that we hold every single person accountable. Don't let this president, we gotta limit this president's power to pardon people sometimes. And especially beforehand, because that's exactly what's going to happen. And they already talking about it. The DOJ just announced this morning that they're putting roadblocks in so we can't prosecute the president, the vice president, and his cronies that he has with him when he leaves office. That's a true story. It just happened this morning that they released. Those are things that whoever gets to Congress and we take that majority, that we can stop as the person who holds the purse. We need to hold these people accountable, no matter if you're the president of the United States, Supreme Court Justice, Joe Biden, Barack Obama, whoever. You commit a crime, you do the time, and that's it. We need to hold everyone accountable, fair, and to the law. Anyone that is breaking the law, we need to hold accountable. The key for this is one, Congress and us getting our power back. It's a third. We should have a third of the power right now. Our Congress people are giving up their power, giving up their voice. We have to take that back. We also need to really look at how money is affecting our political system. The fact that you can go to Congress and trade stock, that's a huge problem and red flag. The thing is, no one's saying a damn word about it because they're all doing it. So therefore, Trump's going to do it 10 times more. Everything he is doing right now is legal for him to do. I say money-wise, right? Because everyone else is doing it. That is the biggest problem we are in right now. And where it starts is voting somebody that's not tied to these corporate entities, not tied and doing stock trading on the outside, that wants to come in and make change. That's not going to fall victim to where things are at right now. It's going to stand by their morals and values to say, no, this is what is ruining our country. It's the fact that these individuals can trade stock. The fact that they can make decisions and then make a quick stock change and make millions of dollars. That is a problem, but it starts with us changing the rules of how our Congress is. And that's one thing we fail to really capture. We want to be mad at Trump. He's a horrible human being and needs to be held accountable. But no one in Congress is going to do that when they're allowed to do all the same things. We got to change that first, then we can start holding those people accountable.
First thing first is, and thank you for the question. First thing first is that this is a very important midterm. And why I say that is because this midterm is gonna determine if we can get things back on the right path. And we gotta get the House back. We gotta get the Senate back. And we get both of them, that'd be great. Because the reason why is that, Steve did mention, is that because if we take a majority, then we can become chairs of these committees where we can bring the secretaries down there and keep bringing these leaders of these different departments. And then too, we can hold this president accountable. We can hold this president accountable, and we can hold everybody else that is doing this stuff and hold them accountable. Because the thing is that this is a Congress right now that is letting a lot of stuff happen. And I think of it like this, is why are we letting grown men and women do the things that we do that we don't allow our children to do? And why are we not holding them accountable? And the first thing that we do is to hold them accountable is we get out vote. We go and get 4 or 5 people, get them behind and register and get them to the ballot and to vote, because we got to save the democracy. The stuff that's going on right now, and that's the reason why I got into this race, because I wasn't going to sit on the sideline and look at this America that I know, that gave me the opportunity to stand up here and run for Congress, and to have these people that don't understand and don't respect the rule of law. Because if I go out there and go down this road and go 100 miles per hour, they're going to hold my feet to the fire. And just because they're a congressman or a senator or a president, we have to hold their feet to the fire. And we have to make sure that we protect this democracy. Because right now, it is shaken. And that's why we have a lot of things that we have. And it gets me so frustrated to look at and see how these secretaries can go down in front of Congress, which Congress is the one that provides oversight, and do the stuff that they do, talk the way that they talk, and disrespect people. And that's why we're so divided, because we got people at the federal government that is modeling bad behavior, and normal citizens are looking at this. And so that's one thing that we have to do, because if I go up there and trade stocks or do anything, Billy Wood's gonna take me to jail. Billy Wood's gonna lock me up. And so what's different from the president of the United States and what's different from a congressman or a senator? They are human beings and they should abide by the rule of law. And that's what we people are, the last line of defense. We the people take that power back. Take that power back. The things Randy Fine say, the stuff that he do, that don't represent us. Because you won't allow, I said, you won't allow your kids to do that. Why are we letting a man talk the way that he talks? Because that's not right. So we can change that. Y'all got me fired up for that.
Calcium. Holy market. Time trades 20 minutes before Trump makes an announcement about the war in Iran. This is corruption on a level that has never been seen in the American government. It is unbelievable. And I made a comment in one of the earlier questions about, we've got senators, we've got congresspeople in the United States who are Democrats who are making notes as all of this is going on. And it's going to be an arduous process, but it's going to be a pretty straightforward process. Just go back to Watergate. We're going to follow the line. And once we follow that money, there's going to be a lot of criminal and civil trials going on. Once we take back control, once we take back control of the House. Thanks.
So the next question, you guys can just spend a minute on, because we want to give you guys an opportunity to kind of give an overview question about your campaigns individually. So for this question, if you do not win the primary, will you support the nominee?
The answer is yes, and I think I told this guys that already. I know I told you, but I think I might have told all three of you. I really like them, and I think they're good candidates. I think that if you don't like me, you should choose one of them. And I think that they'll do a very good job. So I would be proud and happy to get out and speak on behalf of whoever the Democratic nominee is. And if that's not what you want me to do, then I'll just go heckle Randy Fine instead. I got a lot of Mike. Got a lot.
All right, I'm gonna support whoever wins this primary, because that's the problem now, is that we settle for that. And we have to come together as a party and really stand behind whoever picked to be the nominee to fight against whoever is on the Republican side. We have to stand together. So if it's me, myself, whoever, I will get up there and support. I will stand up there and talk for you. Or you got to put me on stage, but I stand there and talk for you. But yes, because we got to do better. We have to do better. We have to. It's so important. And so these are some great candidates. And you know, I am happy to see 4 of us. It was 6 of us that decided to step up and run. And I'm happy to see more people stepping up to serve. Because the thing is a lot of people don't want to do this because you don't want to put yourself out there to the public. And you don't want to open up your life to the public. And that deters a lot of people. And so if one of us win the primary, I will support them.
I'm trying to understand Paul. So, yes, like we all I will support any one of these five songs on the stage. You know, I am honored to be right here, and I think it's amazing to see, you know, we've gone periods of time with not having a Democrat run for the seat. And now we have 4 people running, and actually having a primary. You know, Congressional District 6 is having a Democratic primary with 4 individuals, and we have areas in the state that aren't having a Democratic primary. That is amazing. That is really, really great to see, and I'm proud to be part of this process. And whoever comes out on top, let's fucking go. Sorry.
Oh, absolutely, and my plan is even better than that, because they think that, it's gonna be over after primary, but I'm taking it with me. So y'all choose what y'all wanna do on Ronnie's squad, because it's happening. But no, these guys is great, man, it's been great. And like everybody said, well, everybody has a different, unique perspective that we bring into this race. And that's the difference of what's happening here, is that we are just fed up. That's why we all decided to stand and just get up. We all come from different backgrounds of everything. And it's gonna be y'all choice to choose who you guys want at the end of the day, but I hope that this primary election don't, you know, discourage them, because if I win, I'm more than likely gonna open my doors up to have them in my team. And I wish they will also stand by if that's happened. So of course I would back whoever becomes the Democratic nominee. They got all my resources and everything like that. They got my 100% support.
So the last question, can each of you give us an overview of your top 3 issues that make up your campaign? And what do you want to change about this issue?
Well, the first thing I want to change about this district is the representation of that is starting from not only the federal level, but from the state level as well, because we need to support them as much as we're supporting this federal election. I also say my top 3 priorities is going to be healthcare, affordability, and education. I always choose healthcare first. I always choose healthcare first. The reason why I choose healthcare first, because I come from a background of working in EMS, and I literally saw people die because they can't get help. I choose healthcare first because I can fight to get your gas prices down, your food prices down, and all that other things that, you know, APR rate and whatever else that we can fight for you at on a federal level. But I always say that if you're not here to enjoy those things, what was the point? Healthcare is very, very important. You have to be here and enjoy it with your grandkids or your daughters, your sons. And that's why I'm fighting for universal health care, Medicaid for everybody. It can happen. It's going to take a while, but for now, we can get those ACA credits back. We can reverse this one big ugly bill that's going to get fully enacted in 2027, right? Those are things that we can fight for right now. But healthcare is my #1 thing. Education. We should be the top country in the world with education. But one of the top countries in the world is Israel, because we pay for it. Those are things that I don't understand every day in my head. Why? But those are my top 3 things, and we need to keep pushing forward and make sure that, because these are things that shouldn't be a necessity. It should be a right. Healthcare should be a human right. I should be able to walk to a doctor and say, hey, I need this surgery, but hey, you know, I can't really get it because I gotta pay almost $96,000. Or what about the state of Florida, where they haven't accepted Medicaid for all yet? Free government money. Why? Because Ron DeSantis said it's a Democratic policy, and he don't want it. It's free money. And right now, I believe there's more people committing fraud, waste, and abuse because they don't have it. How? Because the majority of the people who are on Medicaid are working class families. And they get that little stipend that says that you have to spend $3,000 or more a month to get full Medicaid. So what's the first thing they do? when they have a headache, they go to the hospital. And so when you step into the hospital, you can see a nurse, yeah, it's $1,000. Welcome to the air conditioner. Seriously, that's what happened. So there's a lot of things we have to change, but healthcare will always be my number one.
Three things. First, let's talk about affordability. The way I look at affordability, it's way more than simple gas prices. Yes, we're all affected by that. That's a war. That's Donald Trump. That tariffs, like all of that is impacting. This is the first time in history we're seeing actually one man's decisions impact the prices that we're paying. But let's go a little bit further with affordability. We are seeing a crisis within the working class. We're seeing the fact that what's called the middle class at some point is just being completely crushed. And these are policies and things that have been put in place for decades that have just been working against the working class over and over again, continuing to break us down. And so when I think of affordability, we're not going to fix that unless we get true accountability. And where I see that is getting the money out of our political system. I already talked about stock trading, Citizens United, getting our voice back and not to the corporations. That's a lot of the biggest problems that we see right now. Any of us get into office, we're going to be running up against a brick wall of anybody that is taking corporate money. And they're not going to be able to fight for the things that we all want, whether it's Medicare for all, tax reform, early childhood education, whatever it may be. We're going to have a hard time fighting for that unless we get the money out of our political system. And that's just the honest truth about where we're at in our society right now. We gotta change that. The third thing is bringing money back home. I talk a lot about infrastructure today, a lot about issues within our communities. We're struggling. Just like the property taxes go away if that happens. We need money back home. We need to start fighting for the things that will allow us to have future generations here in Florida. Because if we continue down this road right now with overdevelopment, with AI data centers, with no care in regard to the Florida environment, we will ruin the Florida that we care about, and our future generations won't have anything to really look forward to but pavement and subdivisions that all look the same, that have some random name that native tied to the land that they got bulldozed for them. So those are the three big policies: fix affordability through accountability, get the money out of our political system, and really get money back home for our infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. And my top three things that I will focus on is, yes, affordability, cost of living. And because I lived that struggle. I remember having food stamps. I remember I was getting $193 a month. And I remember working at a $725 an hour job when I was rebuilding my life. So I understand that struggle that so many people in this district have to deal with that struggle right now. And now too is that because all the prices have went up, that add an extra layer of stress is because, there are families that have to work 2 or 3 jobs just to make one full-time job. And it's not enough. And then too is that this cost of living has been around, has hit us since we came out of COVID. Once we came out of COVID, is that these landlords and these landlords had to raise up the price of rent, and that really pushed a lot of people into homelessness. And then the second thing is veterans, being a veteran, and the VA has gotten better, but there's a lot of work that we can do. There's more work that we can do. There's so many veterans claims are being backlogged because they're not getting processed, and that's life or death for some veterans to have that rating. And so I want to make sure that we can speed up that process. I know that there's some congressmen and women or some senators down there, but on the House side that's working towards strengthening our VA, getting appointments at the VA. And with this dose, they cut a lot of positions. I was in that number. I I had an appointment for a surgery that I had to have a follow-up and they rescheduled it because they didn't have the staff at the VA. And so, and then my third thing, I see that, I see seniors. I see seniors, I was talking to the lady, before this, and she said she wants seniors to be seen. I see you. I see you because that is the generation that have paved the way for me to be able to do this. And we are seeing right now that so many seniors are being forced into homelessness because that COLA or that Social Security retirement does not match this inflation that happens. And just because we're seeing them in the food pantry line and they're not just picking up food, they are living in their cars. And the reason why is that because some of our seniors, they want to work, but the body won't allow them. And so as your next congressman, that's gonna be one thing that I'm not gonna talk about, I'm gonna be about it. Because I'm so happy and I'm so fortunate I have a sister that lives with my 80-year-old mom. And she is there to take care of my mom. And I was so fortunate for that because my mom just lost one of her eyesight. She got blind in one of her eyes, and my sister was there. But a lot of people don't have that. And so that's one thing I want to take. And my last thing is mental health. I'm an advocate for mental health. I'm a person that's active in sustained recovery. We are not the bottom of we are not the bottom, we're not less than, we are human beings. And I want to make sure that money is coming to this state to get Florida out the bottom for mental health and get people with the necessary resources so they can be able to be productive members of this society. And that's my top 3 things. Thank you.
No, I gave everybody 4 for the.
So, a couple of housekeeping things. There's some materials for my campaign on the back table here. For anybody who's interested in what they've heard today, there's flyers and some business cards back there. My website is www.morganforcongress.us if you want to learn more about the campaign, volunteer, make donations. My top 3 issues are fiscal conservatism, affordability, and respect. And but what I want to talk about right now is Randy Fine, because we haven't had any questions about Randy Fine so far. And so you're not going to get the 4 of us off this stage without something about Randy Fine. And so I'm going to do this right now. But I will say one thing about respect. There's an enormous amount of respect here. There's an enormous amount of respect in this room. And I'm a big believer in respect, which is why it's one of my 3 platitudes. But you don't have to respect people who don't respect you. And so what you're about to hear from me is not going to be respectful of Randy Fine. Randy Fine is not respectful of us. All right? Randy Fine is a congressman without any constituents. And the reason for that is constituent. The word means parts of the same whole. Randy Fine lives in District 8. Probably pointing the wrong way. Where am I turned around? He lives 82 miles outside of our district in Melbourne Beach. Randy Fine does not have any constituents. When Randy Fine goes to vote, his name's not on the ballot. Think about that. He can't vote for himself. He probably would, but he can't because his name's not on his own ballot. So I'm going to ask you some questions, and I'll make this quick. I won't take way more than my 20 minutes. So we've been asked questions. Now I want to ask you a few quick questions, and I'd like you to answer out loud with a yes or a no. Is Randy fine when he runs in a district that he doesn't live in? Yes or no?
No.
No. Okay. So is Randy fine when he hides behind a desk when he's supposed to be served with a warrant? Yes or no?
Yes.
He's fine when he hides behind the desk? No, he's not. Is Randy fine when he says that the shooting of Alex Preddy was a job well done?
No.
Is Randy fine when a judge orders him to attend an 8-hour anger management class?
No.
Is Randy fine when he says that Armenians should not be allowed to serve in Congress?
No.
Is Randy fine when he compares dogs, he chooses dogs over Muslims? Is that fine?
No.
So this is why we're in this race. I can speak for myself. I'm probably speaking for the other three gentlemen as well. I got to the point where I said, this is enough. And it's on my birthday this year, February 28th, and we invaded Iran on my birthday. I didn't have anything to do with that. And Randy had made his comments first about Alex Preddy and then a couple weeks later about dogs and Muslims. And I said, somebody has to do something about this. And I looked at myself in the mirror and I did something that I've always tried to do. I didn't do anything for 72 hours. I just let it percolate. And then I said, I've worked on campaigns throughout my entire adult life, but I've never been a candidate before, but I said, this is the time. We've got a representative who's not representative of who we are. And with that, I want to thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so he already did some of my housekeeping, but just, I do want to again reinforce that all of the candidates have bothered to bring stuff to share with you guys tonight. Please stop by there. Please keep talking to the candidates outside. If you are one of the people staying to clean up, thank you. I need your help. And otherwise, please, on your way out, do look by those tables. We have lots of information about different things that you can do to get involved right now and different things that you can do to make sure that you are ready for the election. And I really like to point this out. This is a very beautiful flyer. I want you guys to, if you are interested in what the progressive platform is about and what the progressives of the Democratic Party do, definitely check out this. And then one last thing. There were some questions left over, and I bet there's gonna continue to be some more questions and the people who are watching on Zoom. We're gonna keep taking questions through our social media or through our meeting on Monday night. And we will actually be submitting questions to the candidates then on Tuesday evening. And they will have, what do you want to say, 24, 48 hours to get it back. Don't ask them. I want to, yeah, we're gonna make it hard on you guys. 24 hours to respond back and we'll get it out to you guys, but we'll make sure you all have the same amount of time. So